TNN Motorsports presents the American Sports Cavalcade. A panorama of speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
The top alcohol dragster field is the quickest of the season. Times in the 580s would be science fiction at almost any other track. In top alcohol funny car, Pat Austin wants to run 240 miles an hour today. Will conditions be favorable enough for him or any other driver to do it? The competition eliminator field is quick, and the short wheelbase of many of the cars on a fast track can be extremely tricky. From the quickest drag strip in all the world, the Texas Motorplex outside of Dallas, today we bring you coverage of the Cheap Auto Parts Sports Nationals. You're looking at the alcohol funny car that has already clinched the Winston Championship, driven by Bob Newberry. And Bob, you have overcome a lot of adversity this year. On-track crashes, some off-track physical problems, but you're here to prove something to yourself more than anyone else.
Well, we're very pleased to be here, Steve. Just like you said, we had some problems last year. Our season ended short with a violent crash. I had some medical problems earlier in the year, but we've overcome everything. We've won a world championship, and we're very pleased to be here at the Motorplex. It's a fast surface. The air is ideal. It's 55 degrees out, and you can see by the numbers, it's real fun to race there.
Just a few minutes ago in round one, you proved you had a winner's performance potential.
Well, we've got a new supercharger on the car, and we did some testing and qualifying. We were pleased with our qualifying. We ran 593, and I felt that we had a 580 in the race car, and after first round, I guess it proved it.
Yeah, Chuck Cheeseman felt that 588.
Well, Cheeseman's tough, too. I expected him to run a 590 and possibly an 80, and we were real glad to win that first round.
We wish you the best of luck today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, for the alcohol dragster story, here's my pal, Brock Yates.
Well, Steve, if there's a name to be reckoned with in top alcohol dragster, it's this one, Conway, as in Tom Conway, who came in here. Last time we saw him, he was in a winner's circle at the Mile High Nationals on American Sports Cavalcade. Now, #1 qualifier, Tom, and a great pass in the first round, although you snapped a couple of rocker arms, but so far so good. I know you get that repaired.
Yeah, we've already got it fixed. We broke 2 rocker arms, and we were hoping to run a little better, but considering it broke the rocker arms, it ran real well. We were real happy.
Tom, you got Johnson out, you got Gord out first round, so a couple of major players are gone. So who looks like the major competition right now?
Well, they're major players, but they're all on the other side of the ladder. I noticed my ladder's all got 5-second cars left on it, so everybody out there is good. Bartone ran a 93, and Augie ran a 94 or 5, so it's tough.
Got to get those rocker arms fixed right away, right?
We've got all new ones on it, all new ones.
Okay, for sure. Well, Tom Conway, no question about, is the player here this afternoon, but we've got another classic competition, and for more on that, let's go to Bob Fry.
Well, Brock, in competition eliminator, there were about 55 different cars that tried to qualify. Some qualified very well, which was the game plan, and some didn't exactly fall where they wanted to in the field, and one of those drivers is Todd Patterson. Todd, you were far down in the pack.
Yeah, we kind of struggled. We missed the first qualifying session. We got here late, and we only had 3 chances. Everybody else had 4, and we haven't quite got on to the combination yet to get the car off the starting line like we had liked. But every run we're learning, taking some information off our computer, and hopefully by the next run we can stumble onto it.
Well, you're going to have to get that stumble onto it in the next run because you got the #1 qualifier next up.
Yeah, I guess, I knocked off a pretty tough car in the first round, and Todd Funderburk, he was qualified #9, and so, from the farther you go, the tougher they get, and so, we're going to have to see if we can put him out.
That's Todd. I've got every cliche in the book down, Pat Patterson. Looking forward to that next round matchup with Mark Chaperone. Steve?
We are too, but right now, Bob, it's time for the second round of top alcohol dragster competition. And already I got to explain something. It's called top alcohol dragster because most of the engines do burn alcohol fuel and use great big superchargers. But you can run without a supercharger nitromethane fuel, and that's what we're seeing right here in the red car of Chess Bushy. He'll be in the near lane against Doug Doucette, which is the conventional style supercharged alcohol dragster. Interesting, the nitro cars have laid down big numbers, Brock Yates, but consistency is a horrible problem.
Well, Steve, I think it's probably because they're so rare in this class. And top fuel dragsters and funny cars, of course, the fuel systems, the injector systems that are on blown nitro cars are pretty common, and the technology is pretty well known. In these cars, though, they're very rare, and they're normally aspirated, and the fuel systems and the way these engines are set up are completely different, and not a whole lot of people know how to do it.
Well, Doug just said he's not even trying to figure that out. He runs a conventional car out of Winnipeg. Ches Bushy, Ramona, California, has been fooling with this injected nitro car. Well, when he had all his hair and it was a darker color. All right, and he's closer to figuring it out right now than he ever has been. Bushy qualified 14th, upset Blaine Johnson, the world champion, round one when Johnson broke. The injected car's in the near lane. Does he have enough at the big end? Yes, he does. That's where the nitro cars shine, at the top end of the racetrack. And Bushy shined as a driver. 6.05, beat a quicker 6.03. He was quicker off the mark. Bob?
Nice win for that race car to 6:05.
Thank you. Last pass we had a little trouble against Johnson, and transmission didn't shift. But luckily for us, he had a problem and gave us the win.
Going to try to make believers out of these people with that injected car?
Oh, we're still trying to get a 5. We've been right there 6-0s, and we haven't been able to run a 5 yet, but we're trying.
Well, they got 2 more rounds to try.
Well, injected cars have run in the 5s. In fact, the national record is held at a 5.89 by Brooks Brown. Watch again. You'll see Bushy in the near lane from California leave about 0.04 of a second ahead of Doucette, and that's a whole lot in the competitive world of drag racing today. Now, the nitro car really didn't have as big a top-end charge as we expected. In fact, it was Doucette coming on 4 miles an hour faster, but that was not enough to make up for the little snooze he took at the starting line. It's Bushy heading for the next round, and down at the far end with him will be Brock.
Jesse, a 6:05 beats a 6:03, a super close race, and obviously a real good shot at on the line.
Well, you know what? I didn't even pay attention to him, but I never really, he was alongside of me all the time.
Yeah, it was a real close race, but obviously the car's running good, and you don't have a whole lot of work to do, I wouldn't imagine.
No, everything looks real clean. This is my wife's motor, so we got to take care of it, you know what I'm saying?
Now it gets important.
Yeah, right. She tells me to tell her hi, you know what I mean?
Okay, go get him, Jess.
You bet. Thank you very much.
A good driver having a heck of a lot of fun. This is the Randy Anderson pit area up top alcohol plenty car. He'll be up against Lou Gasparelli in round number 2. Anderson, the U.S. Nationals champ, is the number 2 qualifier here in Dallas. Stay with us. We'll be back with more.
Boy, a mob scene here at the Texas Motorplex in the pit area, and you can imagine what it's like in the grandstand. A mob scene. Everybody having a great time in this beautiful facility about 45 miles to the southeast of Dallas, the Big D, and we've got more top alcohol dragster action coming at you.
We sure do. In the near lane, it is David Wells. In the far lane is Todd Datweiler. Datweiler won the Champion Auto Stars Nationals back in August in Brainerd, Minnesota. And Wells in the near lane, even though he qualified only 15th in a 6:01, upset Ted Gord, one of the big names in this category in round number 1 earlier today. Gord was the number 2 qualifier, and he's out of here. Datweiler qualified number 7 at a fine 5.97, and he dropped Bobby Taylor in the first stanza. So here we go. They bring the RPMs up to a very high note. They use a clutch pedal just like you would in a standard ship passenger car. And when the light turns yellow, they react to that yellow light. They slide their foot off that clutch, pound the throttle down all the way, and then have to shift 2 times on the way down the racetrack. Busy boys in just 5 seconds. And it is in the near lane, yes. It is David Wells. A great reaction time at .42, 4.0 being perfect. A 6.05 to a 6.09. Typically close competition in this alcohol category. Next up, it's East versus West over in the far lane. That Valvoline car from Oregon State is Tiffany Highland. In the near lane is Augie Vettorino from Pleasantville, New York. Now, Vettorino has the lane choice, and he's picked the near lane. Seems to go back and forth among the alcohol drags. There's no lane really a solid favorite. He had a lane choice of 5.96 versus a 5.94. So he was only 200 quicker than Tiffany from the round before. Right now, as they warm these engines up and get the cars into place, let's go to Brock at the far end.
David, we had you at a 6:05 and Chesko's at 6:05, but we understand you got lane choice, so that's the good news.
Yeah, we're going to need it, I think. We're still shaking just a little bit. I'm not sure what we got to do here, but it's getting better, but it's not quite where we need it.
Well, it conditions are getting a whole lot better than they were this morning. What's it going to take to win this deal?
Well, I think if we can stay pretty close to what we're doing, 6-0s right in there, it's going to be awful close.
Got a pretty good headwind still.
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay.
Well, the bad news is for the kid on the bike and the kid on the scooter, they've just been seen on national television. I'm sure security is headed down there. They didn't get in for free like they thought. Tiffany Highland backing up to have a go with young Mr. Vettorino. Tiffany Young herself, under 20 as a matter of fact, from Springfield, Oregon. They have a 2-car team that they race in Division 6. Augie Vettorino, he's got a lot of experience in this category, and Tiffany is going to have to be on time off the starting line or she's going to get beat.
Well, let's see what we're going to do here as far as reaction time. Tiffany has a reputation of squeezing a really good light, and to do it with one of these cars, as you say, with a clutch action and all the gear shifting to be done, it takes a lot of driving skill to make one of these things really run hard.
That's right, and that's why so many of the alcohol dragster drivers, when they move up, do very well in the professional categories. Tiffany Highland, a magnificent hole shot. Tiffany Highland, the reaction time of the day in the far lane, and she wins it. Oh, she had an elapsed time to go with it, a 5.99 at 227 miles an hour to a losing 6:07 at 232. Here's Bob again.
5.99. This car just keeps getting better, Sam.
Yeah, we're trying real hard. We need to step it up though. Conway's running pretty good. So there's more in it, I think.
A little different than the weather you guys are used to in the Northwest, huh?
Oh, yeah. It's more than that. It's just the track. It's a really good track. So.
Well, the young kid's doing well. 5.99, and Tiffany goes on to round number 3.
I'm sure she's as thrilled as the people in her tow vehicle there. A lot of enthusiasm on Tiffany's team, and for good reason. All right, in our next pair, a couple of real hitters, one from New York and the other from Oklahoma. There's Tom Conway. You saw Brock at the top of the show talk to Conway. He is just about the strongest in the country on any given day and sells a lot of parts and pieces to other racers. That's his demonstrator he's driving right there. He and his wife, Linda, that's the only help they got. They do it all by themselves. While in the near lane, the New York hitter, Michael Bartone, he's got an excellent crew chief, and that is Steve Bott. Let's go to Brock.
Well, Tiffany, 5.99.
Oh, boy. I ran more 5s this weekend than I ever dreamed.
Especially with a little bit of a headwind today. Right now, everybody else is around about 6:05, so you got to be pleased.
Yeah, I really am. I wasn't expecting to run that fast, but I'm so excited.
Well, go get them. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, the sad part about this Texas Motorplex, it is such a good racetrack. Drivers will come in here and run a career best and not even qualify, Brock, because everybody else steps up.
Yeah, this thing is all concrete, as you said, and it really hooks cars up. In fact, it's going to hook them up a little bit too much every once in a while. If you get out of the groove here, you're in real trouble. So it takes a very precise driving style here not to go up in smoke and to keep it down the middle of the racetrack. Michael Bartone is in the paving business. He knows a lot about those sort of things. Tom Conway, he's in the dragster business from Seminole, Oklahoma. This could be a real good one. I talked to Michael Bartone just before the race, and he was pumped up. He says, the only way I can beat this guy is with a hole shot. Of course, that means having a quicker reaction time and getting off the starting line first. Because the clocks don't start until the wheels leave the beam, not when the green lights come on. So Michael in the near lane. Conway, oh, and Michael did it. Michael's got a heck of a hole shot. Oh, but Conway has a heck of an elapsed time. As Linda looks on, she's already radioed down to him that he ran a 5.89 second elapsed time at 231 miles an hour. Michael had a 700th hole shot and couldn't pull it off.
Tom Conway's car's been running well, and they tell that it's that fantastic crew that does all the work.
Well, we try hard.
This is a great racetrack. You guys think that the cars can run quicker than we've seen so far?
Yes, I think we could have run quicker earlier today, but we broke a piece in the motor.
Tire shake hasn't been a problem for your team?
It was then. Normally it hasn't been. The weather's been real good down here.
And the power's been real good, too. Tom and Linda Conway with an 89 going to the semifinals.
And Bob, that line about the hard-working crew went right over her head. She is the hard-working crew. All right, a replay here. You can see Bartone in the near lane. A little smoke off the tires. That probably killed the elapsed time. The reaction time certainly was there.
It sure was, but it was muscle on the part of Tom Conway that just pulled this race out. He apparently was nice and conservative on the starting line, relying on that big horsepower that alcohol dragster has.
All right, so the pairings in the top alcohol dragster Final Four, we'll see Tom and Tiff. Tom Conway versus Tiffany Highland. Conway has the lane choice of 589 versus a 599, a little over a tenth there. Now, the second pair, when we get to that point, will be Chess Bushy, the Nitro car, versus David Wells. Bushy has lane choice in 057 to an 057, but he did it first.
Well, Tom, the last time we talked, you were concerned about a couple of broken rocker arms, but I'll guarantee you they're all together this time at 89.
I didn't even hear what it ran. That suits me. We were trying to be just a little bit careful. I thought it'd run maybe 89 or 90.
89 or 90 ought to win this thing, don't you think?
I hope so.
Well, there you're right there anyway.
Well, we're going to try. We got 2 more.
Keep going.
Well, Chess Bushy back in the pits is already taking that nitro engine apart, had a look at all the pistons, put them back in, and decided things were okay. Now they're working on the clutch. Stay with us. We'll have more great action from Dallas right after this.
Back at the Cheap Auto Parts Sports Nationals at the Texas Motorplex outside Dallas, as we watch Tiffany Highland's crew working on her top alcohol dragster. She's got her work cut out for her. She's going against the man who just laid down a 589 against Michael Bartone, Tom Conway. So Conway definitely, Steve Evans, the man to deal with in top alcohol dragster. But we got a couple of hitters here coming up in top alcohol funny car. 2 of the very best.
You bet. The red car, that is Danny Townsend. Backing into your screen is Pat Austin, the many-time champion who's won over 40 alcohol races in his career and is still in his 20s. Austin from Tacoma, Washington. He and his family heavily involved not only in racing, but in, again, selling component parts. WAR, WAR Racing, stands for Walt Austin Racing. Pat's dad. Pat, a tremendous athlete in high school, college, and in drag racing. Danny Townsend out of Muncie, Indiana, has been racing as long as I've been around this sport, and that's a long, long time.
A lot of people remember Danny running so well in the competition eliminator categories before moving into the funny cars, these alcohol cars. But I'll tell you what, if he can take out Pat Austin right now, Steve, this is going to be a major feather in his cap. Austin is running so well, and part of it is attributable to that monster blower he's got on his car.
That's right. That's the Art Whipple suitcase superchargers. Bob Fry calls it. Austin's the only one that has one. Let's see if it makes any difference here. Ooh, Townsend cuts Austin on the lights. But it is Austin at 588. And he accomplished his goal. 240.57 miles per hour. He said he could do it. He just has. Bob?
588, we knew the ET was there, but a great speed over 240.
Well, we're really happy with it, and we'd love to run 240, and we're going to run it a lot more. 588, yeah, but it was shaking the tires. It'll run a real low 80 here before the weekend's over.
Say, there's good news for the rest of the field.
Oh, yeah. Well, you heard it from Walt Austin. Let's watch again here. You'll see Danny Townsend did a real good job of the lights. Pat Austin was not late, not with a 4.4. Danny Townsend had a 4.2 light. 0.02 of a second in the bank, but it just didn't pay any interest at the big end. It was all Pat Austin. That supercharger, we'll explain more about it later, but it's the only one of its kind, and it lasts a long time to boot.
Well, Pat, 88, you ran him down from behind, so good job. I know you had some problems over the weekend.
Yeah, there's been a few unfortunate incidents, but anytime you can make a recovery and come back and run, you know, we've got a capable team. We know we can do that. The competition's awful tough, and they're trying to mow us down, and we're just trying to survive.
Keep going. Did headwind bother you at all?
I don't know, to go 240?
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
That's a good run,
Yeah.
Not
pushing the car around at all out there?
It does a little bit, but it's very controllable. I mean, on this kind of a track, you know, the traction's so good that makes up for a little bit of it.
Good. Well, I'm sure that the 88 helps to make up for other things too, so keep going.
Hey, we're trying. One at a time.
Okay.
Well, one of those problems was the most serious you can have. He blew the bottom end right out of the motor on the very first qualifying run, something he did 2 weeks ago on the final run when he won at Topeka. All right, here is the guy I talked to at the top of the show, the new Winston world champion in the division. That, of course, is Bob Newberry, who has overcome so much. Number 5 in the world was his finish last year. In 1993, that gold leaf will be scraped off and recycled into a number 1. But Newberry has not won a race since he clinched the championship in Indianapolis back Labor Day weekend. He'd like to prove to everyone he can. From Schenectady, New York, qualified number 3 to 593, beat Cheeseman in round number 1. Now, Jeff Rapp qualified very well in the number 6 spot of 596, and he shut out Aldo Pozo in round number 1, and now the two go side by side. As we've seen so often in this kind of racing, pole shots can be everything, Brock.
Yeah, they usually are, Steve, although you wouldn't want to tell that to Danny Townsend because he got a great light in Austin with that big blower right on by him. Let's see if Newberry, who always has big speed and very low EPs, can handle Rapp.
All right, a little tire shake from both cars. You saw them vibrate a bit. That's typical on this track, and it is Newberry. Rapp had the light by far. Newberry knew he had the performance, wasn't gambling on a foul start. A 590, 234 miles an hour for the man from Schenectady. And Rapp exits the program with a 599, 232. Watch the far lane, though. You'll be able to see very easily that Rapp was on the gas first, and that car was loaded and gone. But at the big end, it was all Bob Newberry. 234 mile an hour charge is almost 3 miles an hour faster than Rapp. And even in a quarter of a mile, even in 5 seconds, it can be the difference. What a good one, Brock.
Oh, Bob, a 90 from behind, which ain't all bad.
No, we're happy to run 90 anything in this kind of heat. It's a little bit hotter than this morning, probably 10, 15 degrees. And the name of the game is try to be consistent, not make a mistake, and hopefully find your way to the final.
90s, 89, 88, somewhere in there you think's going to win it?
I think you're going to have to run pretty quick. Yeah, I think you're going to have to run a high 80, 90 flat. You're going to have to run pretty quick to win this one.
A little more left in this one?
Yeah, there's a little bit left. We were a little bit afraid of the racetrack. This is the first time we've seen some sun on it, and we didn't know what would happen. So, yeah, we got a little bit left.
Okay. Onward and upward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the sun is out now. That posed some problems. It's probably going to go hide again before the race is over, and you'll be back to square one. All right, the supercharger going back on the top of the motor of David Wells as he gets ready to face Tom Conway in the Top Alcohol Dragster Final 4 round. Stay with us. We'll be back with more Tire Smoking Funny Cars right after this.
We're back at the Texas Motorplex where more round 2 action and Top Alcohol Funny Car continue as Randy Anderson from the famed Anderson Racing family out of California goes up against Lou Gasparelli. And Steve Evans, Anderson got his first ever win this year at the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis and has lane choice with a very strong 586.
Yeah, he's still flying from that win at the U.S. Nationals. Lou Gasparelli, he's won a number of NHRA national events, including the Winter Nationals, which is very close to his hometown of West Covina, California. In fact, these two teams are just based a few miles apart. Randy Anderson from Laverne, California, which actually borders the LA County Fairplex, where the Winter Nationals and Winston Finals are held every year. So they grew up, literally, within sight of the racetrack in Pomona. Gasparelli and Anderson.
Of course, Randy's dad, Brad, one of the great competitors in this class and also one of the great engine builders of alcohol dragster motors.
Oh, yeah, truly a genius. Gasparelli away first. Whoa, Gasparelli goes towards the center line, and that opened the door for Randy Anderson, a 587 at 240 miles an hour. Second funny car to run 240. Let's go to Bob Fry down at the starting line with, of all people, Brad Anderson.
587, another 240-mile-per-hour run here in this round. Brad, these cars are awesome.
I'm really happy. I couldn't be happier for my kid. I just didn't think it'd go that quick.
Finally got all the shake out of that car.
Yeah, it's been running really good the last 3 races. We finally got the clutch and everything to work.
Really good. There's an understatement. 587, almost 241 miles an hour.
One of the shake Bob's talking about is just kind of an awkward balance between power and traction, where you confuse the tire. It doesn't know quite what it wants to do, whether it wants to stand up tall or squat down flat, and no one can explain it. If they knew what it was, they'd stop it. Well, you smoke the tires on purpose, and a great-looking burnout like that we saw from Gary Selzy in the Minor Brothers entry. And here is Jackie Stidham from Chickasaw, Oklahoma, doing likewise. Let's go down to Brock.
All right, Randy, obviously pleased an 87 and a 240, which is a good stout pass and low ET of this round, so you got to be feeling real good.
Yeah, we are. We're real happy. The car's just been phenomenal. I can't say enough for what Jolly Rancher and Pontiac, what Mom and Dad have done for me. It's just a fun ride. It's the horsepower's there. It's a lot of fun.
I would think an 87, if you can run them consistently, ought to win this thing, don't you think?
Yeah, but we're saving a little. I think that it'll run a little better. The heat came out, and we were a little conservative. We didn't want to beat ourselves, and you know, it slowed down 100th and 87, but it's still low AT again, and the 240, that makes me real happy.
Good deal. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Boy, he is doing a great job, having a wonderful day, but how quickly that can change in this brutal sport where there are no second chances. All right, we're looking at the car driven by Gary Selzy, and he's a terrific driver, but what's important is that MBR. That means Minor Brother Racing. Out of Fresno, California, they have had some of the best drivers in the sport and some of the best machines, and have won in top and alcohol, funny car, and other categories. And Jackie Stidham out of Chickasha. Honest, I asked how to pronounce that, Oklahoma. Could be a good one. I wouldn't pick a winner here, Brock. No way.
Well, I tell you what, Selzy beat Terry Mullins in round 1, and Mullins, as you well know, is a really strong runner in this class. So Selzy is number 4 qualifier here, although Stidham was in the field at number 5, so very difficult, as you say, to pick between them.
Yep, only 2 into the second apart. Selzy off the mark. Selzy trying to steer a straight and true course, and he does, right to the finish line. A 589 to a 598 for Jackie Stidham. Let's go to the starting line, Bob Fry, with one of the Minor brothers.
Cars here in this round have just been awesome, and you guys are right there with the best of the bunch.
We're fortunate enough to hang around, that's for sure. When you can run 80s with the big boys, that's a pretty good deal. Andersons and the Austins are pretty tough people, boy. It's a lot of fun out here.
Going to take an 80 to win this thing?
Oh, definitely. Mid-80. Mid-80, you betcha.
Keep your eye on that car. Gary Selzy driving a great race.
Well, Fred Minor, you are considered one of the big guys by the Austins and the Newberrys. Come on, let's get real here. All right, pairings for the final four. Gary Selzy in the Minor Brothers car against Pat Austin. Oh, that'll be a beauty. Austin has lane choice by just a wink. And the other pair, they're all classics. Randy Anderson versus Bob Newberry. Anderson with lane choice.
Gary, we got you at an 89 at a 237 in these conditions. That's pretty hot.
That's great. That's my personal best speed. That's
right.
outstanding. Minor Brothers Pontiac Trans Am is flying today.
I think he can probably step up a little bit more, you think?
I don't know. We don't want to get too carried away. Anytime you run 580s, I think they're pretty close.
I don't know, nobody else has gone a whole lot quicker. Austin was a little bit quicker, but other than that, you're right in there.
Well, let's hope we do good next round.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right, let's completely change our modus operandi here. And from heads-up Pro Start Racing, go to the sportsman category known as Competition Eliminator. As Bob Fry said, introducing the class earlier on, there's a whole potpourri of cars involved. Todd Patterson here from Augusta, Kansas, will be driving one type of car, and his competitor, Glenn Self from Durant, Oklahoma, will be driving another. Now, for Glenn Self, it's a G altered with an index factor of 9.05. Patterson has a C altered, an index of 840. Subtract the two, 55 hundredths of a second will go to Self. He will be able to leave first by that margin. The indexes are assigned by NHRA what the average car of the class can run. Now, you can run under it. This is not a breakout deal. You can punish it.
But the advantage will go, as you say, to Self. And a half a second start with cars that are relatively equal in terms of performance could make it mighty, mighty interesting. So there goes Self.
And here comes Patterson, closing fast. He may get him. I think it's Patterson. No. The win light says Glenn Self. An 863, 157 to Patterson's closing, 793, 170 miles an hour. Boy, that's deceiving when they're coming on that fast. Well, I'll tell you, the wind light doesn't lie, neither does the camera. All right, let's have another look. And you can probably tell that Mr. Self was much closer to his yellow light than Patterson was to his. Even though they're not heads up, the reaction time still plays every bit as important a role as it does in other forms of drag racing. So reaction time can be a key here as well, as Self 41 hundredths under his index beats Patterson 46 under. The whole shot made all the difference in the world. Competition Eliminator Racing is just fascinating. Look at that. Oh, by a coat of paint. Self wins it.
And that's exactly what the way the NHRA likes to have these races decided, because they've worked very hard to develop this index system to do exactly what those guys did. Finish almost nose to nose at the finish.
All right, out of Louisville, Kentucky is Mike Farrell, and he'll be up against Dave Lair from Beaver Creek, Ohio. Now, Mr. Lair is driving an N altered. Index 984. Farrell in a C economy dragster, 822 the index. And Farrell will have to wait at the starting line 1.62 seconds. That's a little over 3 lights. That's hard to do. But that pressure advantage is made up. If the other guy leaves first in red lights, you've won anyway without even moving. Okay, there you see the guy with the pressure on him who's got to sit there and wait. Can he do it? Ooh, not only did he do it, but he got a very nice light in the process. Farrell trying to catch Lair, and he does. Oh, but Lair is in big trouble. Lair has lost control into the wall, slides across the racetrack, a flip, and back ends into the wall in the near lane. What a horrible deal, Brock.
Unbelievable. He appeared to lose control almost at the finish line, and the car took a hard right-hand turn, caught the wall head-on as the NHRA safety crews, who are the best in the business, arrive on the scene to see if, make sure that Lair is okay. Let's hope that he, those roll cages, yes, Dave Lair out of the car apparently, so it looks as if he's going to be all right. Let's have another look. As you see Lair in that little Opal, as Mike Farrell runs him down and wins the race. But Dave Lair, right about now, begins to get loose. Whether something broke in the car or what, we do not know. But here, right at the finish line, as we see Mike Farrell win it, suddenly Lair is upside down and barrel rolling across the track.
Well, we'll try to find out for sure, but it could have been caused with a braking problem. That close to the finish line, that would make a lot of sense. Tell you, it took a good shot on the roof there, which is transmitted into the roll cage inside the automobile. Then you get a good look at the undercarriage of an Alder, in case you ever want to know what they look like. And now he gets a good look at the tower from the wrong end. Backs into the wall, crunches the wheelie bars up and the parachute pack. But all's well that ends well. Dave Lair is okay and with Brock Yates.
Obviously, the question is, did something break on the car? Or did,
I have no idea what happened. Just as soon as I lifted on it, turned right, and away we went.
Yeah, these race cars, everybody thinks it's real easy to run them in a straight line, but they're so overstressed that any little bit of imbalance in the automobiles can really get you in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know if I got the groove or I don't know what happened, but it just turned and it was all over.
You okay, though, otherwise?
I think I'm fine. I feel good for what happened anyway.
The iron we can repair.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Glad you're okay.
Thank you.
Speaking of that iron, we may never ascertain exactly what caused that crash. So much of the car is damaged. Could have been something in the right front suspension. It did turn right. Stay with us. We'll be back. Over this bird's eye view of the Texas Motorplex, a quick word about NHRA Now, presented by Castro GTX. It's a 24-hour drag racing information line bringing you the latest news and your favorite drivers and events. Call 1-900-468-NHRA. You'll be charged on your phone bill under 18. Get parental permission. All right, Brock Yates, here we go. Back into competition eliminator.
And one of the very best in the far lane is David Rampy. He's going to go against Victor De La Garza in the Ducati beer car here from way down south across the border in Monterrey, Mexico. Victor will go against Rampy, as I said, with the lane charge. Rampy has it. De La Garza beat Larry Pritchard in round 2, but Rampy got by Jeff Krug in the second round. Now, Rampy in that J Altered, a little bit slower automobile against De La Garza's E Altered, so he has nearly a full second starting line advantage.
And Rampy is really a professional in the sportsman category. He makes enough money drag racing to darn near finance his whole operation. To do that, you got to win a lot, and Rampy does it. Gorgeous start by David Rampy. Good start by both drivers for that matter. Absolutely equal to the reaction time department, and here comes the Mexican national, but it's not quite enough. It is Rampy at a 929, 142 miles an hour. The Ducati car, 836, 161, just a wee bit short. But I'll tell you what, De La Garza gave Rampy everything he had, and it was almost enough. There was almost no manana for Rampy.
Yeah, and this is this kind of competition really almost perfectly laid out. As you can see, Rampy made a good start, so did De La Garza. And as the NHRA likes to have it work, they almost get to the finish line together. As you can see there's Rampy. De La Garza coming on really strong at the final few hundred feet of this drag race, and it's just enough for about a quarter of a car length to give Rampy the victory.
Yeah, Rampy ran 5,500 under the index. De La Garza 5,300 under. All right, now we've got Arturo Delgado. First we had De La Garza, now we got Delgado. Arturo out of McClelland, Texas, up against a very popular comp car, the Pappy's Pride Roadster. There's been a bunch of them that Tom Snyder has owned and driven in honor of his late father, who was a tremendous drag racing supporter and a good competitor. Delgado qualified 18th, 2 spots behind Tom Snyder, beat Skip Brown in round number 2. Delgado is driving a G altered, Snyder an A altered, one of the most powerful cars in Competition Eliminator that ever says 1.50 that Snyder will have to make up. We mentioned earlier, short wheelbase cars, the Texas Motorplex, aren't always a sympathetic combination, but let's keep an eye on it. There's the guy that'll lead first over the far lane. Here's Snyder, that little wing up there to try to maintain some stability. Hey, it's a good start by both of them. Here comes the Roadster all over the place in the middle of the racetrack. Snyder drives through it to win it. That was one impressive driving performance by Tom Snyder. A 7.07. Oh, big block on gasoline with carburetors, 184 miles an hour, 4,700 under his index, and he only won because he had a better start. He was closer to his yellow light than Delgado was. Ooh, that was close. Almost got a red one.
It sure was. He really squeezed that light, but he had to because Delgado got a good, steady, straight run down here. On that side of the racetrack, that Oldsmobile, stock-bodied automobile, was well driven. But Snyder, well, that big horsepower and that altered, maybe the little wing help, whatever it was a good drag race, and Snyder moves on.
Well, I think Snyder is used to that car moving around on the racetrack. In fact, some racetracks probably more than this one. You're hooked up pretty good here. So the pairings for the comp final 4, Mike Farrell versus Tom Snyder. Farrell will have the lane choice. The second pair, David Rampy up against Glenn Self. And Rampy, by virtue of a time further under the index than Glenn Self, will have the lane choice in the coming round. Let's go to Brock.
Tom, we got you to 707.
707, well, used a lot of track on that one. I had trouble keeping it off the center line there for middle part. I felt like the car can run 6 here. I just haven't used it all weekend.
Well, he better dig a little deeper for the final 4. He may not be able to talk to Brock Yates again, and they live for that. This is the Pat Austin pit area. He races Gary Selsey in the final 4 coming up. A huge crowd on hand this weekend in Dallas, Texas, and a lot of them are members of NHRA. And let me take just a moment to invite you to become a member of a very special organization, the National Hot Rod Association, of course. For $48 a year, you get 48 issues of National Dragster, a patch, a pin, a rule book, and a lot more. And if you order by calling the number on your screen, you'll get a free copy of Diamond P's home video, Drag Racing 91. So call today. Hey, can't beat the deal, and you can't beat the alcohol dragster racing we've seen so far here today. Let's continue with it in the final 4.
Well, Steve, we're back at alcohol/nitro because Jess Bussey is back out again with that nitro car. He's going to go against David Wells in this, as you said, final 4 competition. The burnouts have been completed. Now, both guys ran 605s, identical ETs, but Bushy was a little bit quicker on the top end, so he gets a lane choice, and he picks the near lane. There you can see that interesting-looking intake manifold. At distance, it looks like a blower, but at closer examination, it's obviously normally aspirated motor.
And they run, as the racers call it, the can in this nitro car. The can lid label and all, like 98%. In the car in the near lane, over in the far lane, it's methanol or alcohol, and that is checked every round by the NHRA technical inspectors. But it wouldn't matter. He could be running dynamite. Wells red-lighted. A foul start. The wind goes to Bushy in the near lane. Boy, Wells almost pulled that off. 4 1,000ths was what the electronics nailed him at. Ooh, that was close. All right, let's go to Bob at the starting line with Mel Carey, the crew chief.
Nice run. Thank you very much. We still haven't got that 5, but we're getting through there.
What is it about this track that these injected cars like?
The track's perfect. I mean, the traction's great. The concrete all the way down is great for traction. The air here's been good this weekend. The weather's cooperated. It's just a wonderful place to be.
Go get those 5s.
Well, there's a Californian darn happy to be in Texas this weekend. I don't think anybody's having more fun than Mel Carey. Certainly satisfied with his environment. And next up will be Tom Conway in the far lane versus Tiffany Highland. Here is Conway getting ready to smoke those giant Goodyear tires. Now watch them grow on the burnout. They do the same thing at the top end of the racetrack. They get smaller and smaller in width, and they get taller and taller in gear ratio. Brock?
Well, just one more left And that was a red light for him, and David got that, and you got a 6:05. Same ET as before.
I better step it up, hadn't I?
Yeah, we got to watch what Conway does, but I got to believe that Conway is going to run a little bit quicker.
We're going to probably pull all the stops out here, even if we have to hurt a few parts, but we're going to do it because Conway's a hard hitter.
Well, the wind's died down, and conditions got to be pretty right now.
Oh, this is a gorgeous track. You couldn't ask to be in better weather. It's gorgeous.
Go get him, Chess.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, guys, what about Tiffany Highland? She's been cutting better reaction times than anybody in the category, been running in the 5s. I mean, you guys have just written off Tiffany against Tom Conway. Well, some of the crowd may have too, Brock, but they may have another thing coming here. Let's see.
I know. I've got the way Conway's been running so far today, Steve, Tiffany's definitely got the underdog status pretty well wired down, although she's certainly capable of some very good running, and she's a young lady with a great future ahead of her in this business. And
Tiffany has problems, and big problems for Conway. He is skating around in his own oil. Conway falls way off to a 6:24 at 215 miles an hour, and there's parts and pieces all over the racetrack from that exploded Hemi engine. And that will put him in the final round, though, but you can bet he's going to have to go looking for another bullet in that trailer of his as he'll match up with Chess Bushy. And I believe this is Bushy's first ever NHRA National Event final round with that little injected car. It should be a lot of fun. All right, so the numbers stack up this way. Tom Conway against Chess Bushy. Bushy has the lane choice. He says he's going to pull out all the stops. Conway just blew his stops all over the racetrack. He's going to have to go for a whole new engine. Here is the Randy Anderson car coming to the staging lanes to face off with Bob Newberry in the Alcohol Funny Car Final 4. Brock?
Tom, quick word while you're working. What do you think it is?
It kicked 2 rods out, at least 2 rods. I don't know how many, but...
You got an extra motor on board?
We got one.
Okay, so Tom Conway headed for the finals here, but he's going to have to make a motor change, and that is a big deal.
You bet it is for a team that really has no team members other than his wife. They'll go looking for some help. They won't have any trouble finding volunteers.
Back at the Motorplex, let's get right into Top Alcohol Funny Car Final 4 action, and we got a good one for you right away. Gary Selzy versus Pat Austin. Remember now, there is Walt Austin, Pat's dad. Remember, they cracked through 240 miles an hour just a little while ago, and with lane choice, Austin had a 588, but not by much, Steve, because Selzy ran a 589, his career best, and he is feeling good in that Minor Brothers car.
You betcha, and there you got a peek, just a little bitty one at that great big supercharger. And it's different than the one you see on Selzy's car in that there's no friction inside it. Nothing touches anything else, as in the conventional supercharger that has to be re-stripped with these little Teflon things about every single round. Austin says you could bolt that big blower on and run it for a year and never even look at it.
Well, you got to know it's good because it's given up an awful lot of aerodynamics. Big kind of barn door sticking up there for Walt and Pat Austin for that blower, but it must make big horsepower to overcome that disadvantage.
Oh, yeah, look at Austin go. Oh, and Austin gets out of shape. Austin hit a slick spot, lost traction, and he is out of here. Gary Selzy at 6.01, 232 miles an hour. A little more conservative on the combination, but it worked for him. So who would have believed it after running 240, but Austin is gone. Bob Pry is down at the starting line with his dad, Walt.
Well, the car's been running well, but has had that shaking problem. Is it a result of that new supercharger? Is it a result of the track or what?
No, it's a supercharger and the clutch and the fuel system getting it right, and we just really haven't got it 100% yet.
Good luck to you guys in the future. That car has a lot of power, but has a lot of problems getting it down the racetrack.
Well, you know, that's the price you pay when you try to blaze new trails. Here is Bob Newberry, who blazed a trail right into the record book as the Winston champion for 1992. And he is up against, oh boy, Randy Anderson, who also poked it over 240 the round before. Let's have another look at the Selzy-Austin confrontation. Let's watch Pat's car here in the near lane. Bob Pry down in the starting line with a better view than we have, and he said it was the shake we talked about earlier. Watch Pat's car and see if you can see it happen. Yep, right there. It shook the rear tires loose. He almost lost control. Brock?
Well, Gary, now the stage is set. So what are your thoughts as you go into the finals?
Well, it's not going to be easy, but the Minor brothers have had this Pontiac flying today. I don't know why it slowed down. It spun the tires pretty hard on that run. I was driving it a lot, and it was a bad lane. I mean, both lanes are good, but not as good as the other side. So there's something left in there. I hope the sun goes down, it'll run another 580 something. It's going to have to beat Randy.
Yeah, it sure is. He's doing a super job, but you are too, so it's going to be a great race.
Well, at least we're both from California.
That's right. Keeping in the Golden State.
Thank you.
Temperature and heat means everything to the conditions of a racetrack, and also the atmosphere for that matter. And anytime you got a lot of heat, well, you just can't run these engines quite as efficiently, Brock.
Absolutely right. But right now, Randy Anderson is just on a roll. He's doing so well. His father, Brad, has just set this car up almost perfectly. The young man has real instincts as a driver, and I'm sure that Bob Newberry has definitely got a very big concern if he can anywhere stay with him. Anderson has the lane choice, ran a 587 versus a 590. Newberry's in the hunt, but I'll tell you what, Randy Anderson's going to be a tough player.
And he just saw his dad, Brad, do a nice thing, and before he closed the roof hatch, he kind of got a little fresh air in there and a little bit of the tire smoke out of the cockpit as he stages the machine of his son, Randy Anderson. When Randy and his sister Shelley first started driving, they got a lot of criticism. People expected them to be Brad Anderson right out of the box, and you can't do that. But boy, they both arrived now. The U.S. Nationals champion in the near lane, he's sideways, but unlike Austin, he drives through it. Yes, says Brad, that's my boy. A 588 at 239 miles an hour with all of that. Amazing. For Newberry, he's in the truck at a 593, 233. Bob?
Eddie, 593 is nothing to be ashamed of, but boy, Anderson's car is really running well.
He'd be tough to beat in the final, for sure.
You guys haven't been able to pick up a national win since you claimed the Winston Championship.
I know. We just can't seem to get vital finals. The second round.
I want to see that one again. Randy Anderson, to steal one of Brock's lines earlier, looked like a short track stock car driver because this thing was on the verge of being out of control. He obviously shook right there just a little bit. The car got sideways, much like Pat Austin's did, but Randy just stayed right with it. Actually couldn't quite see all of that in the replay, but you saw it real time. That car, a lot of drivers would have shut it off. Randy instead takes the measure of Newberry. So the final round, you know what it is. It's Gary Scelzi versus Randy Anderson. Anderson has the lane choice at 588 versus a 601. I think we'll see the Minor brothers step on that Scelzi car a bit. Brock?
Randy's super job. You know, you were in the same lane as Pat. He was all over the racetrack, and you drove right through it and ran an 88. Excellent piece of work out there.
Well, thank you. It's basically the way we run the car. Dad sets the car up where it's real conservative the first 100 feet. And I think that's what saved us there, the way the car was set up.
So were you worried about, well, you watched him run, no doubt, and you saw that lane. Were you obviously aware that lane could be treacherous?
No, I'm worried about Bob Newberry. You got a world champion in the other lane, and he's a heck of a competitor. And anytime you race to Bob Newberry, you got to be ready, and I just tried to focus.
You sure did. You were zeroed in.
Thank you.
On to the final.
Thank you.
He looks more like a fighter pilot than a race car driver, doesn't he?
Back in the pits at the Texas Motorplex, I'm Brock Yates, along with my pals Steve Evans and Bob Fry. We're having a look at the top alcohol funny car of Randy Anderson, his dad Brad and crew working on that, getting ready for their final race of the day against fellow Californian Gary Scelzi in the Minor Brothers automobile. There's the body, there is the chassis of that automobile. Gary and his guys getting ready. Although Randy is going to have lane choice by a wide margin, Steve, I'll tell you what, Anderson's going to be tough to handle.
You bet that'll be a good one, but first of all, we have got the Final Four in competition eliminator, and there's nothing lightweight about these guys. Some of the driving here has been spectacular, and the only crash we've seen of the day has been in this category. In case you think just because they run slower, they're not as dangerous, the reverse in some ways may be true. All right, we have got Mike Farrell versus Tom Snyder. There is Farrell. A beautiful little C economy dragster, and C means a smaller Chevrolet V8. The economy generally means 1.4 barrel automatic transmission, trying to keep the cost down. Nothing will keep the cost down on this A. Alder car. This is the absolute state-of-the-art car for the class. A very expensive racing engine, much like a pro stock car, really.
Right, it sure is, and it because of its lower ETs, it is a much quicker car. So Snyder in that A altered at a 7:55 index. He will give away over a half a second to Farrell on the starting line.
Boy, he'd rather race another 7-second car, though, than he would one of those 9-second cars. See the little flappers there on the end of the exhaust tenders? That's so when they shut the engine off, cold air doesn't rush in there and warp a valve. Strange and boring drag racing facts, courtesy of yours truly, Steve Evans. All right, there is Tom Snyder. On the other side is Farrell. Snyder again has to sit there with the car loaded, waiting for his yellow. Takes a lot of concentration, a lot of mental discipline to do that. But he does it, but not very well. Farrell with a much better light. Snyder better have a ton of power on the other end. No, sir, that was won by Farrell on the light. A 769 at 170 miles an hour, 52 hundredths under his index, where Snyder was only 49 under his.
Well, as Tom Snyder was much too conservative. He didn't want a red light. He was trying to be very careful, and that's very difficult. It takes enormous discipline to watch a car leave on you, and then you have to wait over a half a second, and he waited too long.
I also wonder if he wasn't under a little bit of pressure, knowing that that near lane could be spooky in the middle of the racetrack, and he would have to navigate it successfully. I think that could have weighed on his mind as well, and maybe caused him to be just a little bit late. He needs no apology, however. He had a great day with a terrific automobile. All right, coming up next is David Rampey versus Glenn Self.
Rampey in the near lane, Glenn Self in the far lane. A more competition eliminator action. This is the final four. These cars look similar on the surface. They're both stock-bodied automobiles, but the drivetrains are substantially different. And in fact, Rampey's car considerably slower. In his J altered, he is a 980 index. Self with a G altered at a 905. So Rampey, boy, almost a three-quarter of a second starting advantage, and that's going to put the pressure on Self.
That's right. Rampey's car is slower, but it's all relative to the index. And when it comes to that department, Rampey has been punishing his worse than his opponent. That could make the difference. That's Rampey out in front.
Rampey, the slower automobile, he's going to win it and head for the finals against Mike Farrell. And Mike Farrell already in that finals, and Steve is with him.
Headed for the final round is Mike Farrell. Got to feel real good, huh?
Feels great. I was in the final round in 83 at Columbus in Superstock. This is our first year in competition eliminator, and I feel like we're doing real well. We're in the finals here at the Texas Motorplex. It's a great racetrack, a great race, and I just feel real lucky. I don't know who we're racing yet. Did Rampey win or who? It doesn't really matter. We're in the finals. I'm going to give it my best shot, Steve.
769.
Oh, that's great. That's the fastest I've ever been.
All right.
Thank you.
That's a happy guy, huh?
Okay, let's take another look at this Rampey and Self race. There's Rampey in the near lane, leaving on time. A good start, good reaction time. Glenn Self trying to catch up. Self, as we said earlier, in the stronger, theoretically faster car. And normally, if the NHRA works it right and the guys are perfect on the line, they'll arrive at the finish line almost neck and neck. But in this case, it was Rampey. More speed, a little better reaction time, and that puts him into the finals against Mike Farrell. Okay, this is how it'll lay out. David Rampey versus Mike Farrell. A couple of interesting automobiles and a couple of very, very good drivers going against each other in this final. And lane choice will go to Farrell. Now let's go to Steve.
Well, David, you've been in the final round a lot, but this youngster you're up against, he is pumped. He hasn't been, Mike Farrell.
I know what you mean. He's a good driver. I used to run Superstock with Mike back several years ago, so I know him pretty good, you know. So I've raced him before even.
You're going to get a big head start.
Yeah, we're gonna do our best. Just go out and hit the tree and go to the other end.
All right, one of the best ever in competition eliminator, David Rampey.
And we will see David Rampey going against Farrell in just a few minutes. And we're going to see this car in action as well. That is Ches Bushy getting ready to go against Tom Conway. Remember, he's making an engine change. Going to get interesting. Stick with us.
Well, the final rounds are ready at the NHRA Chief Auto Parts Sports Nationals, and let's light them up, starting off with competition eliminator. There's the man who has never won a national event. He's been runner-up back in '83 in Superstock, Mike Farrell, up against a guy who's won virtually every national event, Mr. David Rampey.
these are classic examples of what kind of cars will show up in competition eliminator. Steve, one, a very exotic long wheelbase open wheel dragster versus a stock bodied automobile. Rampy in that J altered, of course, a considerably slower car, and he's going to have over a 1.5 second starting line advantage. But that puts a lot of pressure, as we said, also on Mike Farrell, too. He knows he's got a faster car, but he's going to have to sit there and watch Rampy leave on him.
Well, the index is the great equalizer. Believe me, there is no loss technology in the full-bodied car on the far side. If anything, it might be even more complex. Kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing, if you will. One thing we know for sure, reaction time could be everything here. I don't know. Rampy's been running so well under the index, he might be able to recover even from a slow start. The slow starts aren't something we usually see from David Rampy. Farrell with a better start. The dragster has a better chance of catching up because of a quicker lapse time. Rampy sees Farrell fly by. Mike Farrell has won it. A 776. The car fell way off, 170 miles an hour, but a 5.0 light compared to a 5.6 is what paid off. As Farrell went 43 hundredths under his index, Rampy even more, but the whole shot won it, and you'll see the whole shot right there.
A near perfect light by Mike Farrell as he sets off in pursuit of David Rampy, himself fleeing toward the finish line down this quarter mile. And if he had a rear view mirror, you can be sure to be a state of panic on the part of David Rampy, because here comes Farrell. Now, they're going to reach the finish line almost at the same instant, but the electronic clocks and eyes will give the victory to the dragster in the near lane. Perfect drag race.
A decisive winner? No. A winner? Yes, by 8 thousandths of a second.
I'll take that any day of the week. You know, it might as well be, you know, a thousandths or 8 thousandths or a tenth or whatever. I'll take it. That's a great win.
Were you sure you had one?
Well, not really. I thought about 1,000 foot I might have been reeling them in pretty good, but it was real close. I'm just really glad that I won. I want to thank my mom and my dad who sponsor my car and everybody else that helps me at home. Mike Cowan and Conway Witten and all my friends back in Louisville, Kentucky.
Have a great victory celebration, Mike.
Right, Steve, thank you very much. I love that.
Look out, comp runners. This guy's going to be tough next year.
And speaking of tough, we got a pair here coming to the line in the top alcohol funny car final. That is Gary Scelzi, the Minor Brothers funny car, going against Randy Anderson. The burnouts have been completed, Steve. And Anderson has lane choice, but I'll tell you what, Gary Scelzi's up and the car is running well.
Oh, he is up all right. Brad Anderson has tuned up his son's car, Randy Anderson. Now, it is cooled off. The sun is a little lower in the sky, not quite as much heat on the racetrack. It might be a better racetrack. The air may also be better. So there's a possibility here you could have more power than you even maybe wanted, unless, of course, the racetrack is ready to accept it. Anderson near lane, Scelzi in the far lane. Oh, Scelzi a little sideways. Anderson loses a motor oil under his tires. He saves the car, but he loses the race. Scelzi gets back into the fives at a 5.97, 233 miles an hour, and they have won the Cheap Auto Parts Sports Nationals. Bob Fry is on the starting line.
You said before this final you'd like to see both cars run 580s and just have it be a good run, but you'll take a 597 with the win any day.
Oh, yeah, you'd take that anytime. A win is better than any time you could get, so it's just out here having a lot of fun and trying to run with the big boys. That's all there is, you know. You make every lap the best you can, that's all.
These guys not only ran with the big boys, they ran all of them down here today.
They sure did, Bob, and those guys were the best of the best. Let's take another look at it. That is Randy Anderson in the near lane. Now, remember, this is the lane that Pat Austin had troubles in, and it almost bit Anderson in the earlier round. But Scelzi, he is string straight. Excellent reaction time, a 436 to a 473. And there you see the engine going away on Anderson's car. He almost gets it in the fence there. He saves the car. Good job of driving, but can't win the race. Let's go to Steve.
Well, Mr. Scelzi, winning can indeed be fun, huh?
Yes, it is. Man, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I tell you, I think he was ahead of you quite a bit of the ways down the racetrack.
I saw a lot of him, but I was having my own problems in my own lane. It felt like it was drifting all over anyway.
I think both cars were, and you, well, you steered the straightest course.
Well, I guess. What did it run?
597.
It did? All right. All right. Do you know what the lights were?
Doesn't matter, we're talking.
I know, but just personal preference. I like
Time slip will tell you all that.
The minor brothers have been really great. I'm glad we had such a good weekend because it's not very often you get to win one of these things, and I'm fortunate I got 2 this year, and hopefully a 3 at Pomona.
An all-California final. They'd like to repeat that at Pomona.
Well, can California win in Top Alcohol Dragster as well? Just Bushy's got a chance against Tom Conway. Stick with us.
Only one pair remains here at the NHRA Cheap Auto Parts Sports Nationals. I'm Steve Evans with Brock Yates and Bob Fry for the final time this afternoon. And what a contrast between these two, Conway and Bushy. There's nothing alike here.
That's right. Well, they look a little bit alike, Steve, as far as the long wheelbase classic sort of dragster, mid-engine dragster is concerned. But Conway's motor is a supercharged, alcohol-burning 438 cubic inch engine. On the other hand, Bushy, how about 531 cubic inches of nitro-powered motor, except it's naturally aspirated, fuel injected. One blown on one unblown.
And another difference, Bushy didn't have to change engines. Conway did, and they had a real crash going on in their pits. Bushy did say, however, I'll burn up some parts if I have to get my first ever 5-second run. And the conditions are just perfect for that right now. Conway in the far lane, the ejected nitro car in the near lane. Oh, Conway's gone. A little haze off the tires, but it doesn't seem to stop him. Here comes Bushy. Bushy gets his first ever 5, but Conway gets the win on driving. A 4.6 light to a 5.3. I feel sorry for Bushy. He runs 5.99 and gets beat by a 6.04. Bob Fry?
Linda, the driver earned his money that time, big time.
Yes, he did. We've been awful busy between rounds.
Got a lot of help after that blow up in the 3rd round, didn't you?
Yes, we did. We had help from our crew, from Chris Richter's crew, and from Billy Graham and his wife, and we had a lot of help. But the only way we could make it since we raced by ourselves.
Did a magnificent job, 6.04, beating the injected cars, 5.99.
Okay, let's take another look at it. And this race was won on the starting line. Tom Conway squeezed the light perfectly. A great launch for that dragster in the far lane. Just Bushy gets started and does a great job. He moves out to take the low ET and run top speed. A little bit quicker, 225 to 226. But it's not enough. That great launch takes the victory for Tom Conway.
Well, if Tom Conway had any questions in his mind about his engine, he certainly didn't in his driving. You talk about a hole shot, my friend. A 6.04 beat a 99 on the other car, a 5.99.
Really? Oh, really? Well, I knew I left on him. I had no idea what this car would run.
What a thrash, huh?
It's a completely different engine. We've never even started it.
Well, that gives you a lot of confidence in all of your equipment.
I guess so.
And a lot of people pitched in and helped.
They sure did, a whole bunch of people.
All right, well, have a good time tonight. Man, you're the Cheap Auto Parts Nationals champion. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I tried. That's about as excited as he gets. He's won a lot of races.
Okay, Steve, that's a cool head, but a happy man with his own power plant wins Top Alcohol Dragster. Gary Selzy in funny car, Mike Farrell in competition eliminator. For Steve Evans and Bob Fry, I'm Brock Yates. Thanks for joining us from the Texas Motorplex.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Supervising producer, John B. Mullen. Produced and directed by Mark Kuchin. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by this special offer from Diamond P.
What's better than one great video from Diamond P Sports? Well, how about 2? And they walked away 1 and 2. That's right. By calling 1-800-342-1818, you get both of these best-selling videos and you save $5. Featuring the most spectacular spins, flips, wrecks, and fires from the Diamond P archives. This combo is a great Motorsports entertainment bargain. With rare footage from drag racing, stock cars, outlaws, swamp buggies, road racing, and more. And now they're more affordable than ever. Just call 1-800-342-1818 or send check or money order for $44.90 plus $6 shipping and handling to the address on your screen. All orders processed within 48 hours. That's 1-800-342-1818.
The American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.